Great, thank you. And first of all, thank you very much to the Economist Impact Organization for welcoming me back. What I'd like to do is maybe just offer a 30,000-foot altitude overview of some of the key perspectives regarding President Trump's trade and foreign policies currently. I've had the privilege of working with 7 U.S. administrations going back to Ronald Reagan, H.W. Bush, Clinton, Bush W., Obama.
John, you're not
Trump,
old enough for being in Reagan.
Trump and Biden, but not with this Trump 47. But if I might, I'd like to offer a little bit of an insight into what the thinking is driving the White House currently. And on trade and tariff strategy, ladies and gentlemen, it's sort of 4 subsets. I would say it's very much President Trump's promise to his voters in the sort of middle Rust Belt states that he wants to reindustrialize the hollowed out industrial base of the heartland of America, and also that a superpower cannot be based on service exports alone. We have to be able to industrialize and to manufacture, as communist China has shown the world over the last quarter century. He wants to offset the budget revenue shortfalls that we're going to have from this big, beautiful bill that it seems is going to be enacted later this week. And I think he genuinely believes that tariffs can deliver about $150 to $300 billion a year to the annual federal budget. But also, this very much is, as some of the speakers alluded to earlier, a security shortfall issue. That President Trump feels that the American taxpayer has paid the bill for Europe's and East Asia's defense over the last several decades. And except for that small number of countries that do a robust job of providing for their own security, we need to make it up to the taxpayer and the American economy through tariffs. So that's one part of it. On Russia, Ukraine, let me just offer a very short synopsis. Gregory has a much deeper understanding of the situation there. I think Ukraine is less about Ukraine for President Trump, and really one of many issues regarding the recalibration of U.S.-Russia relations. President Trump sees Russia as a Eurasian power, for better or for worse. Ukraine needs to be, quote unquote, resolved in order to get Russia weaned away from China. The idea being an American foreign policy strategy. We don't want to see Russia and China closer to each other than either one is with the United States. And the policies in Washington and Brussels the last several years have driven Russia into the waiting arms of the Leninist ideological regime of General Secretary Xi Jinping. And the question in Washington is, how do we start to get Putin back? Maybe not Putin, maybe his successor, because I think Putin's distrust of NATO and the United States, even if he thinks Trump is a better president, he has no idea who's going to succeed Donald Trump. Whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, odds are he may not be as favorably disposed. On the Middle East, I think that President Trump is looking again to reorder the power structure in the Middle East away from this Iranian-led axis of resistance. The Iranian government spent maybe half a trillion dollars, if not more, on a failed nuclear weapons program, on a ballistic missile program, and on proxies in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Syria, the Houthis in Yemen. And it's all seemingly failed over the last several weeks, at least for now. And we'll see what the Iranian retaliation might look like if there is a serious one in the days and weeks ahead. But I think President Trump feels that Israel on one side and the Gulf Arab countries on the other can bring about a new order in the Middle East that promotes prosperity, that promotes building infrastructure. And one great project that all of you who are here in Greece are probably very interested in is IMEC, right? The India, Middle East, Europe corridor, and the degree to which Piraeus might be one of the major European ports in that strategic transportation corridor. We'll see how that plays out. China, as several speakers alluded to earlier, is very much sort of the #1 issue in the Trump administration's thinking, absolutely. And it's a matter of de-risking, on national security, medical, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and if you're following the news just the last several weeks, even our own defense industry, ladies and gentlemen, in America is dependent on the goodwill of the Chinese Communist Party to allow for rare earth magnets to be shipped to the U.S. so we can build an Ohio-class nuclear submarine, anti-missile Patriot systems, ICBMs, the Minuteman intercontinental ballistic missile, and even the B-2 stealth bomber that delivered the payloads against the Iranian regime. And I'll close here. Energy. The administration is very much devoted to the Chinese model of all of the above. So even though we keep talking about China as a world leader in clean energy, they use coal to build the solar farms and the wind turbines that they're selling to the West so we can address our carbon emissions, while the Chinese more than offset spewing into the atmosphere everything that Europe and America look to save by moving to renewables. So I think you're going to see a major nuclear power renaissance in the United States, especially to power the electricity-hungry data centers so we can be the lead power on the world stage in artificial intelligence. And ladies and gentlemen, the final closing note, John, data over dogma. There is no energy transition taking place. There is more and more solar and wind coming into play, but simply look at the data. The world continues to demand more of and receive a supply of more oil, more gas, and more coal, especially in the global south, which aspires to live the way that all of you do here in Greece, in the European Union, and we in the United States.